All right, as we're all home doing absolutely nothing, I thought I'd try and do a UK top 10 vid. Might as well, right? I actually did a UK top 10 vid around a year ago. Here are the fighters that made the top 10 back then. So this was a vid I did April 2019. I've just watched it back. And here are the top 10 from then. Number 10, Kell Brook. Number 9, Carl Frampton. Number 8, Amir Khan. Number 7, Callum Smith. Number 6, Dillian Whyte. Number 5, Josh Taylor. Number 4, Billy Joe Saunders. Number 3, Josh Warrington. Number 2, Tyson Fury. And number 1, Anthony Joshua. Bear in mind, obviously that vid was done before AJ lost to Andy Ruiz. And obviously before Tyson Fury went on to beat Deontay Wilder. So a lot of changes, I think, from that. Again, quickly, number 10, Kell Brook, Number 9 was Carl Frampton. Number 8 was Amir Khan. 7 was Callum Smith. 6, Dillian Whyte. 5, Josh Taylor. 4, Billy Joe Saunders. 3, Josh Warrington. 2, Tyson Fury. And number 1 was AJ. I did that vid April 2019. It is on my channel. Go and check it out. I give reasons, well, I try and give reasons as to why that is the list. That wasn't easy to do. I think this one is even harder, if I'm honest with you. This one, I struggled. It took me a while to even figure out who number 10 was. Yeah, I struggled. Get your top 10 in, right? I mean, there are no wrong answers. Obviously, number 1 and 2, I think, should be fairly obvious. So I would be surprised if everyone's 1 and 2 isn't the same, depending. I'm not bothered about what order, but I would be shocked if you have a different 1 or 2, if I'm honest with you. But it would be good to hear what people's 10 to 3 is, if I'm honest with you, because I think you can mix it up and chuck. Some people might even be surprised by my number 8. All right, let's quickly do this anyway. No wasting time. My number 10, I actually don't have a number 10. I struggled, people. I really struggled. Not because there isn't someone that makes the number 10. It's just because I had about 5 people that I think could be number 10. About 5. I was kind of going through, is it Joe Joyce? Is it Anthony Yard? And people might laugh about me even mentioning Joe Joyce, but I mean, he's unbeaten. I mean, Brian Jennings wins a good win, you know. Brian Jennings ain't no scrub. I know it's not the Brian Jennings. Was there ever a Brian Jennings? But I know it's not the Brian Jennings that fought Klitschko and even the Brian Jennings that fought Luis Ortiz. But Brian Jennings is still a very good boxer. He is. He's now more a sparring partner. I spoke to him in Saudi Arabia and he said this is his last year. So I think he's going to try and have a couple more fights and then that's it. But with the coronavirus, he might not even have a fight this year. So he might just retire, but he's still a very good boxer. And that's a good win. Plus he beat veterans like Bermane Stiverne. I know, Ustinov. But there are some decent wins in there. So is that enough to be number 10? I mean, there's Anthony Yard. What Anthony Yard did against Kovalev, even with a loss, I mean, still going to Russia, right? I mean, we all laughed and said that wasn't going to happen. He went to Russia and he was one punch. And I think I watched that fight back so many times. One punch away from becoming world champion, right? I mean, that would have been some story. But is that enough to be number 10? I don't know. I mean, some people might even say Daniel Dubois. Should Daniel Dubois be number 10? I mean, I can tell you some guys that are not in my top 10. Should they be there? Amir Khan, Kell Brook? Should they be there? I don't know. So number 10 is up to your interpretation and your imagination. So get your number 10 in. But I was stuck at number 10. I'm going to ask people on social media as well for their top 10 because I'm very interested to see who they have as number 10. Number 9, I've gone for a guy that has only lost twice. It's coming to the end, I know, right? This could be... His next fight probably might be his last one because I think he'll probably lose. But I've gone for Carl Frampton. Now, people might say, what have you done for me lately with Carl Frampton? And they're right? He lost to Josh Warrington, took a long time out, came back. But I like the comeback fight. People might say, yeah, but Tyler McCreary's a no one, hasn't done anything. Tyler McCreary was unbeaten. He was unbeaten. I think Carl Frampton showed me in that fight that Carl Frampton is still an elite boxer. I don't know if he is top of the tree anymore in terms of whatever weight class he wants to fight at. We're talking about him going up another weight class now to fight Jamel Herring. But Carl Frampton is still a very, very good boxer. Very good boxer. And I think that Tyler McCreary performance, coming off, that was a lot of pressure, that performance, by the way. A lot of pressure. coming off a loss, everyone's saying you're done. And I think he showed he's still there. So I'm going Frampton, number 9. Number 8, I've gone for a guy that I'm convinced 120% is going to be a world champion. Like, no doubt in my mind. And that's Lawrence Okolie. People might laugh at this. And I understand because people don't like his boxing style. But remove that from your head if you can. Lawrence Okolie literally cleaned up the British and European scene just like that. And he made it look easy. Like easy. Yves Ngarbo was supposed to cause him some problems and he stopped him. Even Garbo then actually popped for something. But that was an easy, dominant performance. Lawrence Okolie, and I think this little break that Lawrence Okolie is on, because obviously he should have been fighting Glowacki around now for a world title. I think it's actually good that he might get 2 or 3 more months to work with Shane McGuigan and work on some stuff. Lawrence Okolie's long-range fighting is very good. His inside fighting is very poor. He knows that. We know that. If they can fix that, which I think they can, I think Shane McGuigan's a very good coach, he's going to go on and win world titles. I know there's Dorticus there and I know there's Bradis there, but he will go on and do some things because he is very, very big at the weight, spars heavyweights routinely, and he can punch. He can punch. That's my number 8. My number 7, people might think he should be higher. I'm still not convinced with him. I don't know why. And I guess the John Ryder fight showed me why I'm not convinced with him, and that's Callum Smith. Callum Smith is the ring recognized number 1 at super middleweight. Callum Smith has a belt at super middleweight. I'm just not convinced with Callum Smith. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. And I think I am being a bit harsh because we've seen him in some good performances. George Groves was a good performance. Rocky Fielding, way back when, was a good performance. But I'm just not sold yet on Callum Smith. I'm not. Do we get to see him against the likes of Benavidez and Caleb Plant? Maybe Danny Jacobs. That would be a good fight. That will kind of answer a few questions. But yeah, anyway, he's my number 7. Number 6, Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is only above Callum Smith because Billy Joe Saunders is a 2-weight world champion. Yes, I know at 168, who did he beat? Shefa Isufu, was that the guy he beat? It's not great, right? But Billy Joe Saunders is a special talent. He really is. I know people are only going to refer to the David Lemieux. I do it all the time. But I mean, that was away from home. Let's not forget that, away from home against a very big puncher in David Lemieux. And he embarrassed him. He embarrassed him. I was desperate to see him against Demetrius Andrade. I actually think that fight could have been a boring fight because both of those guys are boxers. But that was the test I wanted to see before he got the Canelo fight. We now don't know if he will get the Canelo fight, but Billy Joe Saunders is my number 6. Now, people might ask why this guy is higher than those two. Those two are world champions. But I think this guy's CV and what he's done in his last 4 or 5 fights, to me, puts him above those guys, and that's Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte deserves to be number 5. Yes, we know the issue he had with the B sample. I've made 100 videos about that. We're not going to go into that again. But even prior to that, Oscar Rivas was a solid win. I mean, I'm telling you now, Oscar Rivas is a bit of a... No one picks Oscar Rivas as a voluntary. You don't want to do it, right? Because he's tough, he can box, he can punch, he's very solid. That was a good performance. We will get to see him against Povetkin, fingers crossed, when that fight gets done. I don't know when that fight's going to happen now. I know Dillian Whyte is in Portugal training for that fight. He's still preparing as though the fight will take place. What's his date? May 2nd? Don't know, right? I can see it being moved, but Dillian Whyte for me is the number 5. I think, although, again, not a world champion, I do think his resume in terms of his last 5 or 6 fights, I mean, you chuck in Chisora, you chuck in Parker, Oscar Rivas, Marius Vac ain't no slouch either, by the way. Now, Marius Vac looked very good that night, but again, I just think he deserves to be there because of the fights he's had recently, and they're all wins as well, so he's my number 5. Number 4, this might be controversial for some. For me, I think it's fair, but I can see how some might say he should be higher. My number 4 is Anthony Joshua. Yeah, that is my number 4. Anthony Joshua was number 1 when I done the list April 2019. It's not, obviously he's had a loss since then, but I think it's more a case of the others above him have had decent wins, right? AJ's had a loss and a win, but nonetheless, he's had a loss against someone we didn't expect him to lose against. He done well after that loss, changed up his style. We saw a different AJ, a less aggressive AJ, a more boxer AJ, box and move AJ. And that's a style that could do well against the likes of Wilder and Fury. But nonetheless, it was a loss in 2019. So that's why, for me, he drops down. Again, if you have him higher, I'm not going to complain. I will complain if he's number 1 or 2, but if he's number 3, I won't complain. My number 3 is Josh Warrington. Where was he before? He was number 3 in 2019. He's number 3 now. I think he had fought, no, he hadn't fought Kid Galahad since then. So he's had that win against Kid Galahad. Controversial, but nonetheless, I thought he won the fight. I mean, I thought he won the fight by a round or 2. I can understand how you might swing it towards Kid Galahad. It wasn't the best performance, but there's no loss there. And he had another win. I can't remember who against. Was it a Spanish kid? I can't remember. He does need a big fight, hence why he's joined Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Will he get those big fights? Will it be a Kid Galahad rematch? I'm more earing towards the latter. But I think he deserves to be number 3. Solid last 2 years. Became IBF champion, defended those belts against Lee Selby, Carl Frampton, Kid Galahad, and the other kid whose name I can't remember. Will we get Shakur Stevenson fight? I don't know, but I think he deserves to be number 3. Number 2 and number 1 was an issue for me. It was an issue. Those 2 guys are Josh Taylor and Tyson Fury. I was struggling as to who should be number 1 here. I think people immediately are going to go for Tyson Fury just because our brains are triggered like that. We only remember what was last, right? And Tyson Fury beating Deontay Wilder is going to be fresh in our memories. But Josh Taylor beat Prograis. I mean, Prograis was legit, right? Had a belt, legit, big fight, one of the fights of the year for 2019. I'll tell you now, I've got Josh Taylor as number 2 and Tyson Fury as number 1. The only reason it is this. Tyson Fury, for me, is clearly the best heavyweight in the world. Clearly, right? There's still an argument out there to say Josh Taylor could be number 1 or number 2 at 140 pounds just because of the Ramirez fight. Ramirez has 2 belts, Josh Taylor has 2 as well. So it's not a clear cut and dry for me that he is the number 1 in the division, whereas I think Tyson Fury is. And I think that performance that Tyson Fury put on to almost completely flip the script and beat Deontay Wilder the way he beat Deontay Wilder, I'm going to go as Tyson Fury as number 1. You could have Josh Taylor as number 1. I accept that, right? I'm not going to complain about that. But I'm going to have Tyson Fury as number 1 just because I think we all recognize him now as the best heavyweight in the world. You know, I think if you ask 100 people, I think 95 would say that. Whereas I think if you asked 100 people who the best 140 pounder in the world is, it might be a split. Even if it's a 60-40, it's still a big split. So that's my 10-1, people. What do you think? Let me know. Peace. Guys, sorry, it's me again. I'm back. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, please like and share the videos. It really does help the channel a lot. And if you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right, I'm done. Peace.